Hey everyone, it's Liz, the Frugal Libertarian, and I wanted to do a topic video today because Meryl Streep just did her Golden Globe acceptance speech, and I know everybody else is talking about this. I am not a person who supported Donald Trump. I'm just not, I've said I'm not a supporter of Donald Trump, but I also don't support BS. And there were certain things said about Trump that were just absolute BS. And one of them was something that Meryl Streep took as absolute fact. And this has driven me crazy. And that is that Trump mocked a disabled reporter, a disabled journalist, that he mocked him in a speech, and it's awful and it's disgusting, and Hollywood should go on strike to prevent him from becoming president, which is the stupidest thing ever. You do entertainment. You go on strike, I'll watch a DVD. My life will go on. Society will not crumble around us because Hollywood is on strike. So this is the stupidest protest I have heard so far. The whole thing about Trump with the disabled reporter, there are several very good videos here on YouTube of people who have picked this apart. And I will link them in the description if you'd like to go and watch them. To me, Meryl Streep talking about this, giving this airtime in the Golden Globes, which, by the way, the Golden Globes of all the awards are the lamest. Meryl Streep using her acceptance as a platform, basically to prove that she is unable to use Google. That's what came out of this. Because all of the things she said about Trump, again, I used to believe it. I have a neurological pain disorder, which is disabling. To me, when I first heard that Trump had made fun of a disabled reporter, I was upset. I was really upset about it, because I'm sitting here going, I also have a brother-in-law who's disabled. I'm sitting here going, what an a-hole. He makes fun of disabled people. What's the matter with him? And then I Googled it, because that's the person I am. I'm not willing to just accept something and go, oh, I agree. No, I want to know. I want to know. So I Googled it and found out, no, he wasn't. This was basically something that the liberal media jumped on, and it became a rallying cry. And you cannot disprove it to them. It's ridiculous. I just tried to. Somebody, and what's so funny is whenever, by the way, I am not a Trump supporter, but every time I bring this up, I'm called a Trump supporter because, and then, by the way, I was called an a-hole. Because only a-holes would defend somebody who would make fun of the disabled. And I love the way they love to throw that in and do, if you were disabled or you had loved ones who were disabled, you wouldn't put up with that. Really? Do you really want to get into that nitty-gritty? Because I can. Basically, they're trying to, again, this is the whole shut you up to keep you from talking, because then they don't have to argue points. They don't have to admit that the only video they've watched of this is Trump doing his speech. They don't want to admit they've never watched an interview with that journalist to see that his disability is not the imitation that Trump was doing. I don't even want to call it an imitation. I call it an impression. That wasn't what he was duplicating. He wasn't. Trump was doing the same thing he does whenever he's talking about somebody who's flustered, who is unhappy, who is unsure of themselves. He even did this impression to reference himself. The exact same thing. That's what I think is so disturbing about this. Every one of these people who jumped on the whole, he made fun of the disabled person bandwagon, they took the word disabled and assumed that this reporter, if he's disabled, then he must be like that what Trump was doing. He must have this speech impediment. He must have this uncontrollable arm sway. Oh my God, he's disabled. This man is far more capable than you're willing to give him credit. Far more capable. He has one issue. His mind is sound. He's articulate. He is not this wailing and blabbering thing. So it's almost, I'm gonna go for it. It's almost like they're being discriminatory. Because in their mind, if you're called disabled, you've got to be this one really horrible thing. Oh my gosh. You can't be a functioning human being. Really. You can't. By the way, don't point that out to them. They get really, really mad about it. You know, the whole thing, like I said, other people have done these videos. Go ahead. What's making me crazy is that there are people sitting there and they're saying, well, Washington Post put up an article that points out that yes, he actually did that. He did make fun of the disabled person. Here's the picture proving it. They are not willing to watch the footage of him doing other speeches where he does this, doing other interviews where he does this. They're not willing to watch the footage of the man they claim he's mocking, which disproves their argument that he's mocking him. Because that's not the nature of his disability. But they're not willing to watch that. In fact, that was exactly what happened. I went on Facebook, somebody called me and a friend of mine a-holes because we don't care about the disabled. And I gave her one of these videos, of these clips, saying, watch the clips. Trump has said a lot of things I disagree with. I disagree with him when it comes to foreign policy. I disagree with him when it comes to immigration. I disagree with him about a lot of things. But he didn't do this. It's a myth. It's a terrible thing that people have just run with. And I gave her the video. And what does she do? I don't need to watch that. I've already watched the speech he gave where he did it. I saw him do it. I know he did it. I don't need to rewatch it. Why aren't you willing to rewatch it? Because it proves I'm right? And you can't be wrong. Because you stand up for the little guy. The little guy who is barely functioning because he's disabled. I mean, really, jerks. I can't take it. I can't take it. I am like, this is in the election that won't die. It won't die. And what's horrible is people like Meryl Streep, all these celebrities, keep pushing it forward. Keep pushing it forward. We've got this so-called Million Woman March on DC, and then they're having a smaller march in New York City. For what? Someone explain this to me. What is this for? Because the history of marching and protests have to do with the government restricting your rights. Basically, the government overreaching its own boundaries into your life and preventing you from having the rights that are protected to you by law. Instead, they're going on these marches for what? Because they don't like the system and they're not happy they lost. Is that it? Because as far as I can tell, that's the entire basis of the march. Like, fine. It's like the liberals who got mad when Ivanka did an interview and said that being a mother was one of the most important jobs she had in her life. How dare she? Women are not just mothers. No, but being a parent is a really, really important job. And if you choose to do it, it'll be one of the best jobs you ever have in your life. Just a fact. You know, it's one of the most meaningful, one of the most rewarding, one of the most difficult. But you don't care about that. It's, how dare she? How dare she run a corporation? How dare she design her own clothing and shoes and purses? How dare she? And then talk about being a mother is a good job, an important job. You're so oversensitive. You won't fact check. You run with nonsense. And Meryl Streep, you know what? You are everything that's wrong with this world. You are the 1%. You are wealthy. You do a job that lots of people would love to have. You have the ability to talk. You have the ability to influence. You are not a victim. You are not the 99% fighting against the elite 1%. You are the 1%. Now, I have no problem with you being in the 1%. You act very well. I have enjoyed many of your movies. I have enjoyed many of your daughter's movies. But you are not the everyday person struggling. You are not me. You are not people in my situation. You're not standing up for anybody. You're standing up for yourself. You're giving yourself a talking point. You got yourself into the news. You got everybody talking about you. That's what you did. But you do not represent anyone but yourself. So please do not claim to represent women, because you don't represent me. Please don't claim to represent the downtrodden and the disabled, because you don't represent us. Please do not claim to represent people who are not wealthy and not elite, because you aren't one of us. We are doing just fine representing ourselves. You should settle down. The whole thing, it's just been so obnoxious. Mark Wahlberg, to me, is a saint and a god at this point, because he actually came out and said that Hollywood is so out of touch with reality, and that we all hate it. All the people who live in the real world hate them doing this. We hate it. And that they really need to shut up. And this is from one of them. Arguably somebody who grew up extremely poor, spent some time in prison. I love Mark Wahlberg. I love him. I will watch him and Clive Owen. I will watch anything with them in it. Oh my god. But that's the truth. It's the same thing. This stupid Jennifer Lawrence sitting there and talking about income inequality when she makes more. She's one of the highest paid women in Hollywood. You want to bitch about income inequality? Give your income away. Why don't you divide your income by every person in America, send us all a very tiny check, and reduce yourself to a median income rate? That would be fantastic. That's putting your money where your mouth is, because it's never about them. They don't want their money to be taken away because they earned it, but they want everyone else's money to be taken away because they didn't. And especially those people who inherited it. It's not like they had relatives who earned it and then left it to them. They didn't earn it either, so they don't deserve it. But they deserve their multi-million-dollar checks because they earned them. Anyway, that's my opinion on the whole Meryl Streep thing. I loved watching her in Death Becomes Her. As a child, that was one of my favorite movies, and I know that's weird to say, but it's actually completely true. I watched that movie I don't know how many times when it first got released to HBO or whatever it was. I even watched the making of when I was a kid. I loved that movie. I loved The Devil Wears Prada. I have loved the movies Meryl Streep has been in. I do not love her as a human being right now, because she is up on a high horse and she is claiming to speak for people that she does not represent. And that is just wrong. It's wrong. She shouldn't be doing it. I hate that that these people are making me continue to defend Donald Trump. Stop making me defend Donald Trump. I don't agree with him, and I don't like doing it. So knock it off. I hate doing it. But I have to keep doing it because I'm a libertarian who's also a skeptic and believes in facts and information, not feels. And that really bothers me. So those are my 2 cents. If you enjoyed this video, thumbs it up. If you agree with me, thumbs it up. If you haven't already done so, hit subscribe. I really, really hope you comment, because I am very interested to see if you feel the same as me, slightly different than me, or completely against me when it comes to this. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.